They looked down on humanity. Until we spoke the language only their gods knew. Part 1. First Contact. Ship was bigger than any city on Earth. Captain Park Gina stood at the window of the orbital station and watched it come closer. The alien vessel was dark blue like the deep ocean. It moved slowly, almost lazily, as if it had all the time in the universe. And maybe it did. "They are requesting permission to dock," said Lieutenant Kang Doha. He sat at the communications desk, his fingers moving fast over the controls. His voice was calm, but Gina could see his hand shaking just a little. "Permission granted," she said. "Let them come." This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with alien life. But now that it was happening, Gina felt more fear than wonder. The ship out there was too big, too powerful. It made their little station look like a toy. The Valorans arrived 1 hour later. Gina had seen the images from their first transmission. She thought she was ready. She was wrong. The beings that walked through the airlock were 3 meters tall. Their bodies looked like they were made of living crystal. Light moved inside them, blue and purple and sometimes white, like lightning trapped in glass. They had no faces that she could understand. Just smooth surfaces with glowing points where eyes might be. There were 5 of them. The one in front wore something like a robe made of flowing silver. He was bigger than the others, and the light inside him burned brighter. "I am High Arbiter Thiessen," he said. His voice did not come from his body. It came from a small device floating near his shoulder. "I speak for the Valoran Dominion." Gina stepped forward. She had practiced this moment 1,000 times. "I am Captain Park Gina. I speak for the United Earth Government. We welcome you in peace." Thiessen did not respond for a long moment. The glowing points that were his eyes moved over her, then over the other humans in the room. Lieutenant Doha, Commander Omaire, who stood with the security team, the diplomats and scientists who had been waiting for weeks. When Thiessen finally spoke, his words were cold. "You are smaller than we expected, and your station smells of organic decay." He paused. "But we did not come to discuss your limitations. We came to deliver a message." Moray's hand moved toward her weapon. Gina gave her a small shake of the head. "Not yet. What message?" Gina asked. "The Valoran Dominion has ruled this region of space for 12,000 years," Thiessen said. "We have brought order to 200 worlds. We have lifted primitive species into civilization. We have destroyed those who refused our gift." He stepped closer to Gina. She could feel the cold coming off his crystal body. "Your species has been observed," he continued. "You are young, violent, chaotic. You have barely left your own planet. By our law, you have 2 choices. Join the Dominion as a servant species and learn proper behavior, or refuse and face the consequences." The room was silent. Gina could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. "And what are the consequences?" she asked. "Extinction." The word hung in the air like poison. Lieutenant Doha washed everything from his desk. He had a gift for languages. He had learned 12 of them before he turned 20. Now he worked as a translator and communications officer, and he noticed things that others missed, like the way the Valorans talked to each other. When Thiessen spoke to the humans, he used the translation device. The words were simple and clear. But sometimes, when the Valorans thought no one was paying attention, they spoke among themselves in a different way. No device, no translation, just sounds that came directly from their crystal bodies. High and strange like wind through broken glass. Doha recorded everything. That night, after the Valorans returned to their ship, Gina called a meeting. 30 standard cycles, she said. That is what they gave us. About 40 Earth days. Then they want our answer. What answer can we give? Asked one of the diplomats. Did you see the size of their ship? They could destroy us without even trying. So we become slaves? Myray said. Her voice was hard. We bow down and serve them forever? We survive, the diplomat said. That is what matters. Gina looked at Doha. He had been quiet all day, working at his computer, listening to something through his headphones. Lieutenant, she said, you have something to share? Doha looked up. His eyes were strange, wide with something between fear and excitement. The secret language, he said. The one they speak among themselves. I have been trying to analyze it, and I cannot translate it. It does not match any pattern, I know. But I have heard something like it before. He paused. Captain, I need to contact Dr. KnewHFY on Earth. She is an archaeologist. She studies ancient languages, things older than human civilization. What does that have to do with the Valorans? Doha took a deep breath. 3 months ago, a team on Mars found something. A structure buried under the sand. It was very old. Millions of years old. And it was covered in symbols that no one could read. He turned his computer screen toward them. On one side was the sound wave of the Valoran secret language. On the other side was an image of the Mars symbols. They match, he said. I do not know how or why, but they match. The room fell silent again. Gina stared at the screen for a long time. Bring Dr. Yoon to the station, she finally said. Quickly. I think we need to know what is on Mars before we give the Valorans any answer. Outside the window, the massive alien ship waited in the darkness of space. Inside it, the Valorans believed they had already won. They were wrong. They looked down on humanity. Until we spoke the language, only their gods knew Part 2. The Forbidden Tongue DR. KnewHFY arrived at the station 5 days later. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but those eyes became very sharp when Doha showed her what he had found. Play it again, she said. Doha played the recording of the Valoran secret language. The strange sounds filled the small room, high and beautiful and somehow sad. Hannah closed her eyes and listened. When it ended, she was quiet for a long time. Where did you get the Mars images? She finally asked. Military channels, Doha said. They were classified until 2 days ago. The captain got permission for us to see them. Hannah pulled out her own tablet and opened a file. The screen showed photographs of a structure buried in red sand. It looked like a dome, smooth and perfect, made of a black stone that did not exist on Earth or Mars. Around the entrance, strange symbols were carved deep into the stone. I spent 3 weeks inside that structure, Hannah said. We found thousands of these symbols. They are not writing like we know it. They are more like music. Each symbol has a sound, and the sounds together make meaning. She looked at Doha with serious eyes. When I heard your recording, I almost fell from my chair. The Valoran language and the Mars symbols are not just similar. They are the same thing. The exact same thing. How is that possible? Doha asked. The Mars structure is millions of years old. The Valorans say their civilization is only 12,000 years old. I do not know, Hannah said, but I know someone who might help us understand. That someone was Dr. Baek Sung-ho, a physicist who studied time and space. He arrived the next day, confused about why an archaeologist and the linguist needed him so urgently. You want me to explain a language? He asked. I study black holes and gravity, not words. Just look at this, Hannah said. She showed him the Mars symbols and played the Valoran recording. Sun-ho listened and looked. Then he listened again. His face changed slowly from confusion to shock to something like fear. This is not possible, he whispered. What? Doha asked. What do you see? These symbols, Sun-ho said. They are not just sounds. They are equations. Mathematical formulas. hidden inside the language itself. He pointed at one symbol. This one describes the relationship between mass and energy. This one is about the structure of space-time. And this one here, I have never seen anything like it. It describes how to fold space, how to travel between stars. The three of them stared at each other in silence. Who wrote this? Sunho asked. Who had this kind of knowledge millions of years ago? The Valorans call them the architects, Hana said. The beings who created life in this galaxy. The Valorans worship them as gods. The next 2 weeks were the longest in Gina's life. The Valorans sent messages every few days, reminding humanity of their deadline. Each message was colder than the last, but in the small research room, something amazing was happening. Hana and Doha worked together day and night. They did not just study the Mars symbols. They learned them. Hana's years of language training and Doha's natural gift made them fast learners. Too fast, Sunho thought. Almost as if the language wanted to be learned. It feels natural, Doha said one night. He looked exhausted but also excited. Like I already knew it, and I am just remembering. That is strange, Sunho said. Languages do not work that way. This one does. By the 20th day, Hana could read whole sections of the Mars structure. What she found made her hand shake. It is a library, she told Gina. The whole structure is a library. It contains the history of the galaxy, the science of the architects, and messages for the future. And the messages, Captain, are for us. For humanity? Gina asked. Yes, the architects knew we would come. They left instructions. They left knowledge. And they left a warning. What warning? Hana looked at the captain with fear in her eyes. The Valorans were never meant to rule. They were meant to wait. They have forgotten their purpose, and they have built an empire on stolen power. The architects call them the keepers, not the rulers. They were supposed to protect the knowledge until the inheritors arrived. The inheritors, Gina repeated. Yes, Hana said. Humanity. We are the inheritors. That night, Commander Omai joined them in the research room. She had been watching the Valoran ship with growing anger. 10 cycles left, she said. What do we do? Fight them? We cannot win a fight, Gina said. Their technology is too advanced. Then we surrender? No. Gina looked at Doha and Hana. We do something else. We speak. Doha understood. The sacred language. The tongue of the architects. If we can speak it in front of them, if we can show them that we know the truth about their gods, everything changes. Will it work? Myre asked. I do not know, Doha admitted. But it is the only weapon we have. The next 10 days were a race against time. Doha and Hana practiced speaking the architect language until their throats hurt. Sunho helped them understand the deeper meanings hidden in the words. Myre prepared the security team for anything that might happen. And Gina planned. She requested a final meeting with High Arbiter Thiessen. She told him that humanity had made a decision. The Valorans agreed to come. On the morning of the 30th cycle, the airlock opened again. Thiessen walked in with the same cold arrogance he had shown before. But this time, he brought someone new. A Valoran even larger than himself, dressed in robes covered with strange symbols. This is High Priest Orvith, Thiessen said. He serves the sacred text of the architects. He has come to witness the moment when your species accepts its proper place. Gina looked at the symbols on Orvith's robes. They were the same symbols as the Mars structure. The same symbols Doha had learned to read. We are ready, she said. Thiessen made a sound that might have been a laugh. Good. Then speak your surrender. Gina stepped aside. Behind her, Lieutenant Kang Doha stepped forward. He was pale. His hands were shaking. But his voice was steady. And then he spoke. Not in Korean. Not in English. Not in any human language. He spoke in the tongue of the architects. The effect was immediate and terrible. "Hi!" Priest Orveth screamed. His crystal body cracked with light, and he fell to his knees. Thesan stumbled backward, his glowing eyes flashing with confusion and fear. "Impossible," Orveth whispered. "Impossible. The sacred tongue." "How do you know the sacred tongue?" Doha kept speaking. His words flowed like water, like music, like something that had been waiting millions of years to be said. And the Valorans listened. They had no choice. They looked down on humanity. Until we spoke the language, only their gods knew. Part 3. The speaking. The words that came from Doha's mouth were older than stars. He spoke about the beginning of time, when the architects walked among empty worlds and planted the seeds of life. He spoke about the great plan, the experiment that would take billions of years. He spoke about the different children, each given different gifts to the Valorans. The architects gave long life and patience. They were meant to be the keepers, the ones who would protect knowledge through the dark ages. To humanity, the architects gave something else. Short lives, but burning minds. The ability to learn fast, to change fast, to adapt to anything. They were meant to be the inheritors, the ones who would someday wake up and take their place among the stars. High Priest Orveth stayed on his knees the entire time. His crystal body shook like glass in a storm. The light inside him flickered between bright white and deep purple, colors that meant something in Valoran culture. Fear, wonder, shame. High Arbiter Thesan tried to speak several times, but no words came out. His translator device made small clicking sounds, but even it seemed broken by what was happening. When Doha finished speaking, the silence was complete. Then Dr. Yunhana stepped forward. She carried a tablet with images from the Mars library. "We found your gods," she said. Her voice was soft but strong. Or rather, we found what they left behind. A library buried on Mars, waiting for us. Waiting for millions of years. She showed them the images. The black dome. The carved symbols. The endless halls of knowledge inside. The architects knew we would come, Hana continued. They designed us to find them. They made our minds able to learn their language in weeks, when your priest needed thousands of years. Lies, Thesan finally managed to say. His voice was weak, shaking. This is some trick. Some illusion created by your primitive technology. Hannah looked at him with calm eyes. Then let Orveth read it. She walked to the high priest and held out the tablet. On the screen was a passage from the Mars library, written in the sacred symbols. "Read it," she said. "If you can." Orveth took the tablet with trembling hands. He stared at the symbols for a long time. His light flickered faster and faster. Then he made a sound that was almost a sob. "I cannot," he whispered. "I know these symbols. I have studied them my whole life. But I cannot read this passage. It is too advanced, too complex. Would you like to know what it says?" Hannah asked. Orveth looked up at her. For the first time, a human and a Valoran truly saw each other. Not as superior and inferior. Not as ruler and servant. Just as two beings facing a truth bigger than both of them. "Yes," Orveth said. "Please, tell me what it says." Hannah spoke the passage in the architect language. Her pronunciation was not as smooth as Doha's, but it was clear and correct. Then she translated. "When the youngest children speak our words with true understanding, the waiting ends. The keepers must step aside. The inheritors must step forward. This is not punishment for the keepers. This is completion. This is what you waited for. Rejoice, for your long duty is finished." Tears of light ran down Orveth's crystal face. They dripped onto the floor and disappeared. 12,000 years, he said. We built an empire. We conquered worlds. We thought we were the greatest, the chosen ones. He looked at Thiessen. We were just guards, waiting for the real heirs to arrive. The sand's light turned red, anger. No, he said. This cannot be. We are the Dominion. We rule 200 worlds. We will not give up everything because of some words spoken by animals. He turned to the other Valorans who had come with him. Arrest them. Kill them if they resist. We leave now. The fleet will destroy this planet. Nobody moved. Did you not hear me? Thiessen shouted. I am the High Arbiter. I speak for the Dominion. One of the Valoran guards stepped forward. His light was pale blue now, the color of deep thought. You speak for the Dominion, he said. But these humans speak for the architects. I cannot raise my hand against the voice of the gods. One by one, the other guards stepped back. They lowered their heads toward Doha and Hana, a gesture of respect that Valorans only gave to their highest priests. Thiessen stood alone. This is not over, he said. The Dominion has 1 million ships, 1 billion soldiers. You may have won these fools with your tricks, but the Dominion will never accept this. He turned and walked toward the airlock. At the door, he stopped. Enjoy your moment, humans. It will not last. Then he was gone. Orvis stayed behind. He rose slowly from his knees and looked at Captain Gina. I apologize, he said, for everything my people have said and done. We came here to enslave you, and instead, you have freed us from a lie we did not know we believed. Gina nodded. What happens now? Thiessen will try to destroy you. Many in the Dominion will support him. They have too much power to give up easily. Orvith paused. But many others will listen. The recordings of what happened here today will spread. The sacred language spoken by humans. The words of the architects revealed after all these years. It will change everything. Will there be war? Perhaps, probably, but not against humanity alone. Orvith's light pulsed with something that might have been hope. There are many species under the Dominion. Many who have wondered about the architects, who have questioned whether the Valorans truly deserve to rule. When they learn the truth, they will have to choose sides. He looked at Doha. You carry a heavy burden now, young human. You are the first of your kind to speak the sacred tongue. Others will want to learn from you. Others will want to kill you. I know, Doha said, but I had to speak. The architects wanted their words to be heard. Who am I to refuse? Orvith made a sound that Gina realized was a laugh. Your people are remarkable, he said. So young, so fragile, so short-lived. And yet, you learn what we cannot learn, and you speak what we cannot speak. The architects chose well. He walked toward the airlock, then stopped. I will return to the Dominion and speak the truth. Some will call me a traitor. Some will try to silence me. But the truth cannot be unspoken. You have made sure of that. Commander Myri watched him go. Her hand had never left her weapon during the entire meeting. Do you trust him? She asked to Gina. I trust that he believes what he said, Gina replied. Whether that is enough, we will find out. Outside the window, the massive Valoran ship began to move. It turned slowly and headed toward the stars. The deadline had passed. Humanity had not surrendered. And nothing would ever be the same again. In the research room, Doha sat down heavily and put his head in his hands. Hana sat beside him. We did it, she said softly. We started something, he corrected. I do not think we finished anything. No, she agreed. But we started something that needed to be started. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, in temples on 100 worlds, Valoran priests began to whisper, the sacred language. The humans speak the sacred language. The inheritors have arrived. The galaxy would never be the same. They looked down on humanity. Until we spoke the language only their gods knew. Part 4. The Revelation. The news spread faster than light. On every world in the Valoran Dominion, beings watched the recording from Earth's orbital station. They saw the humans speak the sacred language. They saw the high priest fall to his knees. They saw the words of the architects revealed after 12,000 years of mystery. And the galaxy shook. On the Valoran homeworld, the Council of Arbiters called an emergency meeting. Half of them demanded war against humanity. The other half demanded more time to understand what had happened. We must destroy them before this lie spreads further, Thiessen said. He stood before the council with his light burning red. They have tricked Orvith with technology we do not understand. They have created false recordings. We cannot let them destroy everything we have built. But High Priest Orvith was already speaking in temples across the planet. I was there. He told crowds of thousands. I held the tablet in my own hands. I could not read what they could read. The symbols of the architects, the ones we have studied for 10,000 years, flow from human mouths like water from a spring. They are not lying. They are not tricking. They are exactly what the ancient texts promised, the inheritors. The Dominion split in two. Ships that had flown together for centuries now pointed weapons at each other. Families argued. Religions broke apart. Old alliances crumbled overnight. And on the orbital station above Earth, the work continued. Sunho had not slept in 3 days. His eyes were red, and his hands shook as he moved through the data from the Mars library. There's more, he told Gina and the others. So much more than we knew. He showed them what he had found. The architects did not just create life. They designed it. Every species in this galaxy was made for a purpose. The Valorans were made to last. Their crystal bodies do not age. They were built to survive long periods of darkness, to keep knowledge safe when others forgot. And humanity? Gina asked. We were made to change. Sunho pulled up another section of text. Short lives, but with minds that never stop learning. Bodies that adapt to any environment. Spirits that refuse to accept limits. The architects called us their most dangerous creation. And their greatest hope. Why dangerous? Myra asked. Because we grow too fast. We learn too fast. We could become anything. Sunho paused. The architects were afraid of what we might become if we grew without guidance. That is why they hid our inheritance. That is why they made us start on a planet far from the center of the galaxy. They wanted to give us time to develop wisdom before we develop power. Doha looked at the ancient text. Did they think we were ready now? I do not think so, Sunho admitted. I think they expected us to take longer. To find the Mars library in 1,000 years, not now. But the Valorans forced our hand. They came to Earth too early, and we had to reveal ourselves before we were supposed to. Hannah was reading a different section of the library. Her face had gone pale. Captain, she said, you need to see this. She translated the passage slowly, making sure every word was correct. We, the architects, go now beyond the veil of stars. Our time in this universe ends. We leave behind our children, many species, each with different gifts, each with different paths. They will argue. They will fight. This is expected. Growth requires conflict. But we leave one final instruction. When the inheritors speak our words, the old order must end. The keepers must teach what they know and then step aside. The inheritors will make mistakes. They will cause harm. But they will also create wonders we cannot imagine. Trust them. They were made to surprise even us. The age of waiting ends. The age of becoming begins. The room was silent. They are really gone, Gina finally said. The architects. They left the galaxy. Or they died, Sunho said. or they changed into something we cannot understand. The text is not clear, but they are not coming back. We are on our own. We were always on our own, Doha said quietly. We just did not know it. 4 days later, the first Valoran ships returned to the solar system, but they did not come to fight. 3 vessels, small and unarmed, entered orbit around Earth. They carried delegations from worlds across the Dominion, species that had been servants of the Valorans for thousands of years, species that had wondered about the architects for generations. They wanted to meet the humans who could speak the sacred tongue. Gina hosted them on the orbital station. There were beings of every shape and size. Some had scales, some had feathers, some had no bodies at all and existed as clouds of light. They all had one thing in common. They were scared of the Valorans, and they were curious about humanity. Doha spoke to them in the architect language. For most of them, it was the first time they had ever heard it spoken aloud. The architects left messages for all of us, he told them. Not just humanity. Every species was part of their plan. Every species has a purpose. What is our purpose? Asked a being made of shifting colors. It came from a world that had been conquered by the Valorans 3,000 years ago. I do not know yet, Doha admitted. The Mars Library is enormous. We have only read a small part of it. But I promise you this, we will share everything we learn. The architects did not want secrets. They wanted understanding. The being made of colors pulsed with bright blue light. The Valorans kept the sacred texts locked away. They said we were not worthy to see them. The Valorans were wrong, Hana said. The texts belong to everyone. They always did. Over the next week, something amazing happened. The delegations talked. They argued. They shared stories of their worlds and their histories. They discovered that many of them had legends about the architects. Legends the Valorans had told them to forget, and slowly, carefully, they began to trust each other. This could be the beginning of something new, Myre said to Gina one night. A new alliance, not built on fear, like the Dominion, but on something else. Something like what? I do not know. Partnership, maybe. Curiosity. The desire to learn what the architects really wanted for us. Gina looked out the window at the ships orbiting below. Thiessen will not accept this. The old powers will fight back. Of course they will. Change is always painful. Myre put a hand on Gina's shoulder. But we are not alone anymore. That matters. In the research room, Sanho made another discovery. There's more, he told Doha and Hana. The Mars Library is not the only one. The architects left libraries on other worlds too. Places we have never been. Places the Valorans never found. Where? Doha asked Sun, who showed them a map of the galaxy. Several points were marked with the architect's symbol. One is at the center of the galaxy, he said. The others are scattered in places between the stars, in the deep darkness where no one goes. But the central library, the one at the core of the galaxy, that is the main one. That is where the architects put their most important secrets. Has anyone been there? Hana asked. No. The Valorans tried for thousands of years. But they could never find it. The texts say only the inheritors can find the path. Doha looked at the map for a long time. Then we have a destination, he said. When this war ends, when things are stable, we go to the center of the galaxy. We find the last library. We learn what the architects really wanted us to become. Outside the window, the stars waited. The galaxy was breaking apart and coming together at the same time. And humanity, the youngest children with the oldest voice, was at the center of everything. They looked down on humanity. Until we spoke the language only their gods knew. Part 5. The Inheritors. The war lasted 3 years. It was not a war of fleets and explosions, though there were some battles. It was a war of ideas, a war of belief, a war for the soul of the galaxy. On one side stood High Arbiter Thiessen and those who refused to accept the truth. They called themselves the True Dominion. They said the humans were liars, but the architect language was a fake created by clever technology, that the old order must be preserved at any cost. On the other side stood everyone else. The new alliance called itself the Council of Children. Humanity was at its heart, but they were joined by dozens of species. The beings made of color, who had waited 3,000 years for freedom. The scaled people of the Outer Rim, who had never believed the Valorans were gods. The cloud beings who existed as pure energy and had always wondered what the architects really wanted. And there were Valorans too. High Priest Orvith led thousands of his people who accepted the truth. They gave up their power, their positions, their comfortable lives, because they believed the architects had spoken through human mouths. Captain Gina became something she never expected, a diplomat for an entire species. She traveled to world after world, speaking to crowds of beings who had never seen a human before. She brought Doha and Hana with her, and they spoke the architect language. And everywhere they went, the message spread. The architects wanted unity. The architects wanted growth. The old order of masters and servants was over. Some believed. Some fought. Many died on both sides, but slowly, the True Dominion lost ground. On the final day of the war, Gina stood on the surface of the Valoran homeworld. The sky was purple here, filled with strange stars she had never seen from Earth. The buildings around her were made of the same living crystal as the Valoran bodies, tall and beautiful and ancient beyond imagination. Thiessen knelt before her. He had lost everything. His fleet was destroyed. His supporters had abandoned him. The Council of Children controlled most of the galaxy now. "Kill me," he said. His light was dim, barely a flicker. "That is what conquerors do." Gina shook her head. "We are not conquerors. We never wanted to be. Then what do you want?" "We want what the architects wanted." Gina reached down and helped Thiessen to his feet. "We want you to join us. Not as servants. Not as masters. As partners." Thiessen stared at her with his fading eyes. "After everything I did? After I tried to destroy your species?" "Yes. Why?" Gina thought about the question for a long moment. "Because hatred is easy," she finally said. "And we did not come all this way to do what is easy." 1 year later, the Dawning Light was ready to fly. The ship had been rebuilt with technology from a dozen species. Human engineers worked beside Valoran designers and beings whose bodies were made of light. It was the first true ship of the new galaxy, built by everyone for everyone. Captain Gina stood on the bridge. Around her stood the crew she had come to love. Commander Oh My Ray, still carrying her weapon, still watching for danger. Dr. Big Sunho, his eyes full of wonder at the mysteries still waiting to be solved. Dr. Yoon Hana, older now, tired, but still hungry to learn. And Lieutenant Kan Doha, the man who spoke the language of gods. Beside them stood High Priest Orvith. He had joined the crew as an advisor and as a student. He wanted to learn the architect language properly, to understand what his people had been protecting for so long. "We are ready," said the pilot, a young woman named Isio from the outer colonies. "Set course for the galactic core," Gina ordered. "It is time to find what the architects left for us." The ship began to move. Through the window, Gina watched the stars blur as they entered faster than light travel. Behind them, a galaxy was rebuilding itself. Ahead of them, the greatest mystery of all waited to be solved. The journey took 3 months. They passed through regions of space that no living being had ever seen. They navigated around dead stars and living nebulas. They stopped at abandoned worlds where the architects had left smaller messages, hints pointing them toward the center. And then, finally, they arrived. The core library was not a building. It was a structure wrapped around a black hole. A ring of light and crystal and something else. Something that hurt to look at directly. "It is beautiful," Hannah whispered. They docked the ship and walked into the library. The hallways seemed to go on forever, branching in directions that should not exist. The walls were covered in architect symbols, more than any human could read in 1,000 lifetimes. In the center of the library, they found a chamber. And in the chamber, they found a message. It was written in light, floating in the air, waiting for someone to read it. Doha stepped forward. He opened his mouth and spoke the words aloud, translating as he went. "You have come. We knew you would. We built you to be curious, and curiosity always finds its way to truth. This library contains everything we learned in our billion years of existence. The secrets of life and death, the structure of reality, the nature of consciousness. We give it all to you, the inheritors, because we trust you to use it wisely. But we also give you a warning. We left the galaxy because we grew too powerful. We began to see the universe as something to control rather than something to experience. We became distant from the children we created. We forgot what it meant to be young, to struggle, to not know. Do not make our mistake. Keep your wonder. Keep your doubt. Keep your ability to be surprised. These are the greatest gifts of consciousness, and they are so easy to lose. Go now. Build. Create. Love. Fight when you must. Make peace when you can. Fill this galaxy with life and noise and beautiful chaos. We will be watching from beyond the veil of stars. We are so proud of what you have become." The message faded. Gina stood in the silence for a long time. Around her, her crew wept. Even Orvis, who had served the architects his whole life without ever hearing their voice, had tears of light streaming down his crystal face. "What do we do now?" Myra asked. Gina smiled. "We do what they told us. We go back. We share what we learned. We help the galaxy heal. And when the next generation is ready, we send them out to find new mysteries." She turned to look at her crew, at beings from 6 species, united by curiosity and hope. "We are the inheritors," she said, "and the universe is waiting." The dawning light began its long journey home. Behind them, the core library glowed with ancient light. Ahead of them, a new age was beginning. The Valorans had looked down on humanity. They had called them primitive, animals, insects. They were wrong. Humanity was exactly what the architects designed them to be: young, fragile, short-lived, and absolutely unstoppable. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly the point.